Hey everyone, welcome back to another beautiful Thursday. Markets were up today, but Bitcoin is still trending like it's going to go down for the day, at least have a red candle on the day. So we'll take a look at Bitcoin, obviously, see where it's going today. We'll take a look at, obviously, the miners, see how they did today in the stock market also, and then we'll take a look at Core versus Iris versus Mara versus Riot. So these are the large miners. We're going to take a look to see what's going on with those guys as far as how do they do for June and how do they compare to each other. And then we'll obviously get into some analytics on that as well. So as always, you guys know the drill here, not financial advice. I'm investing in the following coins and companies for full disclosure, so you guys are aware. And let's get into Bitcoin here really quick. We'll get into Ethereum, and then we'll get into the miners themselves. So Bitcoin right now is at $23,118. We got about 43 minutes left for the day to switch over to the new day. And right now we can see here that we have a red candle on it. We're still not seeing, obviously, a bullish pattern on the daily chart. So long term, we're still kind of in the mix here. We don't know if it's going to go down or if it's going to go up. But we do have it, obviously, battling with the red line here is the 200-day moving average. If we zoom into the 4-hour chart, we can see here that we were battling with it here for the past couple hours, 12 hours or so. We did get above it again. We did dip below it for twice here. They got above it. And it looks like we may close out the day again in above this 200 moving average line, which would be a good sign. Right now, we're still looking bullish on the 4-hour. 1 hour, not so much. If we look at it here, the peaks, we're at 52 on the RSI right now. Last time we were right around here, going back to here, we were higher on the price. So right now we have a price decline while RSI is flat. That's not a good sign. I'm thinking we're possibly going to be going down more. How far lower? It's anybody's guess right now, but possibly down to the 22,000 mark. And then we'll have to see, obviously, where that ends up at, battling through it. So, like I said, we're still kind of in a flux here a little bit, but we'll see how it continues going forward. Obviously, tomorrow we have Friday, and then we got the weekend, so we'll see how it goes over the weekend. Ethereum is actually up today. Let's take a look at the daily chart on it. Yeah, but it's actually up today. So it's had 2 red days. And it's up today a little bit. It's up about 4% while Bitcoin's down. And on the daily chart, we still can't tell if it's bullish or not. It's kind of in flux right now. On the 4-hour chart, we can still see that we are, I would have to say, right now, we're still looking bullish on the 4-hour chart if we look far enough back. Yeah, I mean, we're still bullish. We're still up on the 4-hour. 1 hour, we could say the same thing. Probably we're down here. We're still up in price. So we're still a little bit bullish, short term at least, in Ethereum. All right, so let's take a look at the miners here. Let's go here. All right, so ANY was actually down today 0.26% to 77 cents, down a little bit more in the after hours right now to 73 cents. And let's take a look at Argo. Argo was down 7.9% as well to 44 cents. Bit Digital was up 3.13% to $1.98, up a little bit in the after hours to $2.03. Bitfarms was up 2.04% to $1.50, down a little bit in the after hours, down to $1.42. CleanSpark was down 0.92% on the day to $4.87, down a little bit more in the after hours, now to $4.82. And Core Scientific was down 0.99% to $2, no trades in the after hours. DigiHost was down 3.05% to $1.27. DMG was down 1.13% to 27 cents. High Blockchain was up 3% roughly to 4.45. Hut 8 was up 5.61% to $2.26. Iris Energy was up 2.74% to $4.12. And Luxfolio was looking flat. I don't know why we're not getting any data for Luxfolio. That's kind of strange. It's the second day in a row where it's been flat. I'll have to look into that one. And Marathon was up 8.18% today to $13.49, down a little bit in the after hours right now. And Moss Infrastructure has been down 0.45 to 96 cents. And then we got Riot is at 762, up 8.55%, down a little bit in the after hours to $7.46. And Stronghold was down 7.17% today to $2.98, down a little bit more in the after hours, another 7% to $2.77. And that is it for the miners. So let's take a look at the miners versus miner here. So I'm going to pull this up. We'll go here. All right. So here's our sheet. So obviously we got Marathon, Core, Iris, and Riot, and this is basically what we're looking at to see what they did in June and comparing them against each other as far as how they performed. And let me get something else set up here that I wanted to show you guys here in a little bit. Okay, so obviously Marathon has about 106 million shares outstanding. Current stock price about $13.49. Market cap has obviously increased nicely here in the last 12 to 14 days or so. It's had a huge run up here in a little bit. It's gone over 140% up in value in the last 2 weeks or so. So it's at 1.4 billion right now, and that is based on the information that we got that they have secured the hosting for all of their miners to get them to 23.3 exahash by sometime or possibly early next year in 2023. So that's Marathon. Core Scientific has 325 million shares outstanding, roughly. Stock price is at $2. It's currently valued at 650 million. IREN Energy is 55 million shares outstanding, stock price $4.12, 226 million roughly market cap. And RIOT has 135 million shares outstanding, $7.62 the stock price. Market cap is basically 1 billion. I am quite surprised that Core isn't higher priced right now based on their future hash rate and current hash rate. I mean, they're basically mining about 1,000 and plus coins a month, but I think the reason that they're this low is possibly because of the debt that they do have. So we'll take a look at that as well. Here are my estimations right now. So this is the last 3 quarters plus the current quarter, which we're in right now, which is just started. So Marathon's looking to be possibly at 183 million. Things can change, obviously, if they get the miners installed. They also have to, obviously miners installed and energized. They have quite a bit of miners ready to go. They're just waiting for the electricity to get turned on those. So that has to happen for them. That could obviously increase the revenue here. So we're just looking at a snapshot of right now. Core Scientific is also at, I'm looking at about 367 million, 368 million roughly for their last 3 quarters and the current quarter we're in. Obviously, they're plugging in miners like crazy. So we'll have to see where they end up at. We're obviously at the beginning of the current quarter, Q3, which is July, August, and September. And then we got Iris, I got them at about 59 million right now, and then RIOT at 187 million and a half, roughly. So using my calculations that we do all the time, I added the 50% PE20 in here. Basically, this is because we've seen the margins for the miners have come way down as far as what their profitability is. Bitcoin has come down in price. They're actually making less, around 45, 50% or so. So I'm going to show you guys 50% and 75% as well for comparison. So at 50% net income from gross revenue at a PE of 20, that would get Marathon to about $17.27. At 75% net income, that would get them to $25.91 at the 20 PE multiple right now. That would be basically from the 75%, we're about $12 away from where they should be. So they are undervalued in my opinion right now. And that would be obviously a 92% difference from where they are right now to get them to the $25.91. Core Scientific at 50%, we're looking at $11.31. And 75% would be $16.86. So we're using the 75% here. We're at $14.86 away. So that's a 748% potential upside for that in order to be copacetic, be the same thing as the other ones at 20 PE. IREN Energy at 50% would be 1073, 75% would be 1610. And they're basically $12 away from where I think they should be at 75%. That's if Bitcoin starts going back up. I could easily see them obviously having better margins. So we might get back up to the 75%. But right now, I'm thinking we're probably closer to this, at least at this level with Bitcoin price. But that's a 291% difference from the 75%. So obviously nice upside potential there. RIOT is at 1386 at 50%, $20.78 at 75%. That's $13 away from the $20.78, so 173% increase in that potential. Current hash rate, we are at, well, I know RIOT's or Marathon's actually off. And that's basically because they are having problems with their Montana Hardin facility, which has had damage caused by a storm to their electricity, or not electricity, well, electricity, but it's their power plant. So they're like at 600, 700 petahash or something like that right now, way lower than where they should be. Future hash rate obviously is going to be 23% or 23.3 exahash. That makes them about 16.7 before they had the issues with Mount Hardin or Montana Hardin facility. And number of miners installed is about 37,000. They obviously have about 2 to 3 exahash already ready to go. They're just waiting for Compute North to get all the paperwork figured out and they can get those plugged in. So hopefully that happens this month. If that does, we're going to see a huge increase in obviously hash rate for them when that happens. But obviously the Montana Hardin facility is having a drag on them, and it's going to be hard to see where they end back up. So we'll have to keep an eye on it for the current hash rate, but future hash rate, we know where it's going to be. Average hash rate per miner, when they were at 3.9 exahash, they were about 105 terahash, which was really good. And then looking at Core Scientific, Core is at 10.3 exahash right now. They're going to be at 17.2 exahash. They're about 59% installed right now. Number of miners installed is about 103,000. Average hash rate per miner is about 99 terahash, which is also really good. And we'll have to see, obviously, where they end up at this quarter with everything being installed. They've been installing a lot. We'll take a look at that number here in a minute. Then we got Iris. Iris is at 1.16 exahash right now. Future hash rate is about 15 exahash. So they're only about 7.76% operational from full hash rate. Number of miners is 12,001. Average hash rate per miner is about 97 terahash, which is also pretty good. So these are basically the newer miners that they have installed. All of these guys do for the most part. Riot is at 4.9, almost 5 exahash right now. They're going to be at 12.6, 12.7, something like that. And we still don't know on Riot as far as their immersion cooling. So they have, like 200 megawatts of immersion cooling. That's obviously going to have an impact on their future hash rate because it's going to increase that by possibly, not the whole 12.7 exahash, but it's going to increase a portion of it by about 25 to 30, maybe 35% increase in that. So we could see them getting to maybe 14, maybe possibly getting to 14 exahash with that improvement there. And they are currently 39.24% operational. And 47,570 miners, and their average hash rate right now is 104 terahash, which is really good as well. BTC HODL, looking at these guys here. Marathon obviously currently has the most. Core would have had the most had they not sold almost 8,000 Bitcoins in June. They sold quite a bit there, so they would have had the most at the current time, but obviously they had to sell. And that's because of the debt that they do have and things like that. They pretty much were forced to do it. Marathon obviously has 10,055. That's a value of 231 million right now at the current price of Bitcoin. Core has 1,959. That's 45 million right now. HODL market cap for Marathon is about 16.13%, and Core is about 6.92%. And each share has $2.18 of HODL in Marathons and 14 cents in Cores. Iris does not HODL at all. They sell everything that they make to fund operations and growth. Riot is at 6,654, so that's 153 million currently right now, and their market cap to HODL is 14.84%, and each share has about $1.13 of HODL right now. These are the last numbers that we have for them, and these are from 3/31. I've covered this in a previous video as well, where we, which miners are in trouble. And it's basically looking at their total current assets, current liabilities, current ratio, total liabilities and total equity, and then debt to equity ratios. And we can see here that obviously Core and Marathon are pretty high as far as total liabilities that they have outstanding. So current total assets minus total liabilities, that's quite a bit there. So that's why Core had to sell. I think that was to bring down their debt a little bit. And we'll obviously get updates on that when they actually report them, possibly in August sometime for Q2. All right. So that brings us to this part here. One other thing I wanted to point out to you, which I'm going to do that right now, is the percentage gains in the miners here over the last month. So beginning of June, going all the way to now. So I don't know if you guys can see this very well, but Mara is up from the beginning of July. Mara, you can see it here, is up 140 3.5% from that. From the start of July, RIOT is up here. It is up 79.72%. And Cores is right here. Cores is up 32.45% right now. And Iris Energy is only up 14.44% from the same period. So I was just basically comparing these guys to each other, see which ones have done the best. Obviously, Marathon has done the best, and the reason Marathon has done the best is because the news that came out that they secured all the hash rate that they need for hosting. So that's why the stock popped, and it popped really hard too. One thing that I don't understand is obviously they do have the issue where, which we'll get into right now, is the amount that they actually mined in July or in June, and then in May. We'll take a look at the numbers here. But Iris in June mined 148 Bitcoins. That's valued about 3 billion right now. Core 1,106, and that's valued about 22 million. So you can see why I don't understand. I kind of understand, but I don't get sometimes investors. You know, they have huge potential here. Obviously, they're making a lot of money, but they do obviously have a lot of debt. But I think they can withstand this current bear market and get through it. It'll just be challenging for them, I think. RIOT, 421 Bitcoins, 8.4 million in revenue roughly. Marathon, 140.1. That's about 2.8 million in revenue. So obviously, I mean, right now, Marathon made less money in June than Iris Energy did. But yet their stock pumped like crazy, while Iris is, only up 14% on the month. So crazy things happen. I think investors are just looking for growth right now. And people are seeing that Marathon's going to be to 23.3 exahash. They're looking at the growth, and that's what's driving the price, basically. Bitcoin production. So here is the comparison for all four of these guys. And we'll look at each one here. So Core in January had 1,077, February 981, March was 1,143, April 1,121, May was 1,138, and June was 1,106. May obviously had an extra day in here than June does, so it goes the same for all these guys. I think they would have beaten this had they had one extra day here. They would have beaten it probably. They're mining about 40 coins a day for the most part on average, something like that. So their best month was, looks like March, 1,143. Iris had 126 in January, 110 in February, 121 in March. April was 137, May was 151, and June was 148. So their best month here looks like May. Mara had 462 in January, 360 in February, and 436 in March, 299 in April. May had 267, and June 140. I mean, you're seeing a pattern here in Marathon where ever since February, they've been just going down, except for March. They had a little uptick here in March, and then April, May, June, it's been going downhill ever since then. So we'll see how July is, and I think they moved a lot of their miners also to another pool, so it's going to be hard to tell what they're actually mining on Mara pool. That's how we would normally check that one, but obviously Marathon has not been doing well, but they're being rewarded because of their future hash rate. RIOT had 458 in January, 436 in February, 511 in March, 508 in April, 466 in May, and June 421. So they've been coming down too, and I think it's because of their curtailment, but as hot as it's getting in Texas, they've been shutting down the miners to provide power back to the grid. But their best month was back in March, and you can see that here. Let me see what else. Oh, up here. Monthly miners, so difference from each month. We can see here that the large miners had a problem pretty much across the board where they were down less than the prior month. We don't see that, I'm not showing it to you guys here, but in the other ones for the medium-sized miners, we actually saw miners that had growth in them as far as production goes. But here we're seeing, Iris was down three less Bitcoins in June than in May. Core had 32 less, RIOT had 41, Marathon had 127 less. And part of that is, like I said, May had one extra day than that June didn't have. But here's where we're looking at BTC per petahash. So this is just a metric to see which one was the most efficient here. And Iris was actually the most efficient here. It was at 1.27 BTC per petahash. Core was second at 0.1074. And then we got Riot at 0.085 and Marathon at 0.0359, way at the bottom. So, like I said, they're getting rewarded for the future hash rate, and that's why the stock has been pumping right now. Other than that, I think that is it. I mean, we can see the monthly hash rate as well here on the miners here. We can see good, pretty much consistent growth here for core. I mean, you can see here from April to May, they went up almost 300 petahash, and then from May to June, they went up, was 900 petahash, which is a huge increase. It's a lot of miners getting installed. Iris has been growing pretty well as well, except for May and June. They've been flat from that month to month. Mara has been obviously going up a little bit, and they've obviously had problems here with their power plant in Montana. So they're actually less than that. That should be closer to 600 or 700 petahash, something like that. And then Riot has been growing steadily as well over the months here. And they obviously also had a slight decrease in June, which they said they were pulling out some of the older miners or something like that, or doing something in that. So that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I do think that they are all undervalued right now. Marathon is getting close to where I think, at $17.27, they're getting close to where I think they should be at, given the margins right now with Bitcoin. But otherwise, Core is way undervalued. Iris is still a little bit still undervalued. It's about halfway there where it should be, and Riot is halfway about where it should be as well. So they're still all undervalued. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And then, as always, the spreadsheet is available to Patreon members. Thank you to my Patreon members for their support there. And we'll see what's going on tomorrow. I'm still missing 2 miners for June production, which is Luxfolio and Mawson. So I'm waiting on those guys to provide that information. Other than that, I think I have everybody else. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then,